What we do is a broad spectrum support. We do volunteering. We organize groups of volunteers for them, but they also have their own organization of volunteers that contact the refuge directly for their outplanting program that's associated with the greenhouse. We do that. We do greenhouse work. I organize groups that do that. We do the repair of the volunteer cabin. So we're kind of a little bit broader, but we also are volunteers. So that's our connection. And a lot of the people that volunteer in the outplanting for Fish and Wildlife for the refuge are also members of the Friends. Just so happens.
Welcome to Hakalaua Cabin. This cabin was built in 1883 by D.H. Hickox. He was a plantation owner, Makaiv here along the Hamakua coast. He built the cabin as a little cabin in the woods. It was surrounded by koa trees, and as you'll notice later, all the koa trees are down now. All of the koa was harvested and milled on site. The original cabin was that room and this room here and the porch. And then later it was expanded with more bedrooms added, and then in a bathroom and then a kitchen. So by the 1920s there was a full-size kitchen added in here, and we'll go look at that in a minute. You might want to just take a look at some of the koa that was milled right on site. You see it about 15, I haven't measured this, 15 or 16 inches across. Beautiful. All of this is koa. This shelf is nice and smooth. This is from all the people like me rubbing hands across it. It's all oiled, nice and smooth. Beautiful koa. So after the koa was logged around this area, it became ranch land, and the ranchers used this area continuously up until the 1980s, to about 1985, whenever the Wildlife Refuge was set up. It was turned over, but up until then it was used continuously, which explains why by the 1980s the cowboys wanted electricity. So you'll see there's still wires and things. That's the TV antenna up on top, is because it was continually used from when it was built until now. The ceiling is kanak, and it's got the soot from 100 years of wood stove and kerosene lamps and candles. Sort of interesting. I don't think anybody wants to touch it. There originally had been a fireplace here, and and the chimney out of rock. It collapsed during a strong earthquake, and then was taken out, and a stove was put in place of it down in that corner. The stove's not there. Maybe one day we'll put in a replacement stove so that it gives an idea of what this room was like with a wood stove. This room was added later. The original building was in there, and then it was bedrooms were added, and then the kitchen was added.
From the outside, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
I love this
Yeah.
drain board.
Oh.
Fun. how old is the bedstead? Who knows?
Who knows? But you can see the footprint right here of the wood stove. There used to be a big wood stove, and I understand from people who were here this morning that they'd actually eaten meals off of it that had been cooked here, that it was used all the way up until the 80s, 1980s, when it ceased to be used.
Wow.
And it was the kind of wood stove that had an oven in it, and they ran the water pipes behind it, and then the showers just on the other side of that wall, so they had hot water for their showers. I mean, by the 1980s, the cowboys expect hot water for their showers, right?
We're a pretty small federal agency, but we got a huge mandate. We have over 500 refuge units nationwide. We manage over 20 million acres of land. And now we've had a big expansion recently with millions of acres of monument designations now that are going to embrace all kinds of conservation challenges for coral reefs throughout the Pacific. And so this is a huge, huge challenge. Days like today where we have this open house, it's part of National Wildlife Refuge Week. Every year in October we try to put events on to invite the public and get a good turnout, do things for the kids. We are really trying to encourage the American public to bring your children outside, get them into the woods, get them down to the beach, get them in the water, connect them with nature. It's a huge initiative. And if you have been following some of the work that's out there, the book Last Child in the Woods really woke up a lot of people about the separation of our younger generation from the natural world. If we get disconnected from the natural world, our challenges in conservation are just going to go up astronomically. And kids respond. Almost universally, they respond. And that's the thing. We want to make sure that people who are raising kids today, they need to remember the value of getting their kids out in the experience of just the open sky, the plant life, the insects, everything that's out there, the bird life. Some of these kids that went on this bird hike today, they could end up being famous ornithologists in the future as a result of one day's experience and going with somebody like Jack Jeffrey that might have just really stimulated something in them that is going to get their interest for the rest of their life. So it's an incredible thing. What we do for a living, we are so lucky because we have the potential to influence those kids. People that are coming the next generation that are going to make contributions in the conservation field. So we take it very, very seriously. Every individual we work with has some potential to make a difference, to help, to pass on to future generations. All these resources we're taking care of. I'm optimistic because of the help we've got here. It's a good symbol of how important this is to the people in general in this country. And I think most refuge folks around the country will tell you we have a big challenge, but we also probably have the best people in the world helping us. And their numbers are growing. We are getting more friends groups throughout the country every year. Something Congress allowed us to do, which I think is that's real good foresight. To allow us to have nonprofit organizations, community-based organizations that will work hand in hand with us.